The Gladstone Bank is a world-spanning organisation whose vaults hold old money and which rarely intervenes in the comings and goings of politics if it can help it. However, the Hobgoblin invasion of the Trove Islands is bad for business, particularly when it threatens a branch of the bank not far from Quarry Hill. The rescue of one of the bank's clerks from a local gang of bandits by the party helps persuade the branch elder to free up funds to hire mercenaries to defend the town, as the Hobgoblin army under Taichu Hiragana makes its inevitable way northwards. Mercenaries alone, however, will not be able to stop the Red Tide. That said, Kadira makes use of the visit to the bank to put to the test her suspicion that she has travelled in time and makes a 50 silver pieces deposit at the bank. Maybe compound interest is another kind of magic she can exploit. The local sheriff's reputation is damaged due to his inability to deal with the self-same brigands faced by the party. However, having been something of an adventurer himself in his younger days, he reveals that he was once a cog raider. These ambitious souls plunder the dead city of Sunderberg on the Kriegsring, nowadays only populated by the constructs which once served the extinct population. As a cog raider, Bartholomew Wright once brought back an almost complete shield guardian. But for a thaumatic actuator which would give it life, this fighting construct remains in good condition to this day in the sheriff's house. A former pal of the sheriff's, Gaston Macready, still runs cog raiding missions to the Kriegsring and has a shop of sorts in Southwood Head. Macready probably has a thaumatic actuator, but Southwood Head is, of course, in Hobgoblin hands. A chance to simultaneously bring the construct to bear on the invaders and redeem the sheriff's reputation as a coward is a chance too good to miss though. The party, along with the sheriff, makes its way by boat to Southwood Head. Sheriff Wright knows that an underground river runs past the underground lair of the presumably captured Thieves Guild in the coastal town. The Thieves Guild, fronted by the Squiggling Wolf Inn, is probably the best point of access to the town. Sure enough, the Thieves Guild is not only in Hobgoblin hands, but the dreaded Iron Shadows, the Hobgoblin's ruthless secret police, are using it as a base. Undeterred, the party presses on through the bowels of the guild. Unfortunately, Sheriff Wright is killed in a fight with a bugbear, a hobgoblin, and even an Iron Shadow. To add insult to mortal injury, a supporting spell from Kadira goes astray, sealing the fate of the stricken sheriff. Pressing on, however, the party finds the dead body of Brynhild Skuldmeier. The hobgoblins have been torturing the Glorious Raptor's leader. A search of the surrounding room by the party reveals that Skuldmeier had been on a mission on behalf of Bryce Richter, the Chamberlain of Port Sovereign, whose son's death caused him to employ Elora to exact revenge. Skuldmeier had been gathering information on the hobgoblins before being captured herself. Tragically, at least from his point of view, Vilius triggers the release of one too many toxic vials in a chamber either rigged to kill by the guild or by the hobgoblins who captured it. As the foul-tempered wizard dies, Akatosh suggests to his companions that his vampiric bite could revive the fallen Vilius. What he doesn't mention is that it would also slake his bloodthirst, which has been steadily growing since Akatosh met the group. Those party members still standing are outraged and strike the vampire down, going so far as to stake him through the heart. As they don't cut off Akatosh's head though, the vampire is able to flee in bat form. Not one, but two members down, the remaining heroes make to emerge from the Squiggling Wolf Inn/Guild front. They agonise how to cross the public square to Macready's shop without drawing attention from the regularly passing columns of hobgoblin soldiers. The Iron Shadows, at least two of whom have been killed by the party, are instantly recognisable due to the devil masks they wear. Old Jenny and Kadira have helped themselves to a mask each, and they use these, as well as Jenny's grasp of the goblin language, to pass themselves off as Iron Shadows in order to get to Gaston Macready's shop. At the thought of giving the invaders a bloody nose in the upcoming battle in the town to the north of the occupied region, Macready willingly gives the two women the thaumatic actuator. He is distraught to hear that his old cog-raided comrade-in-arms Bartholomew Wright has been killed though. Otherwise, Macready decides to stay with his shop rather than come back with them to Quarry Hill. Events take a turn as the dwarf fighter Hrafn Cragmire and his paladin comrade-in-arms Cecile Politan appear on the scene. Hrafn Cragmire. Hrafn, or sometimes Old Craggy to non-dwarves, was, for a long time, a sergeant in one of the strike teams that acted as defence against the drow attacking the lower levels of Thunderpeak Mine. During one such counter-offensive, a tactical decision that Hrathen made led to his entire unit being killed in a cave-in. Even though Hrathen bravely fought off several drow and returned to the upper levels as the only survivor and leader of the team, he was ordered to either pay weregild to the families of the dead soldiers or go into exile. As the Cragmire clan were rather down at heel at the time, the only option was to cut off the longest braid of his beard and to head out into the wilds. For a while, Hrathen served as a mercenary in several small armies and private companies. Then, when he got a bit older, he served as a trainer of new recruits. Now, he mostly sits in the tavern and drinks ale, regaling anyone who'll listen, which these days is limited to newcomers to town, with his stories of the fights in the mines and so on. Hrathen is bitter about his past, but he pushes it to the back of his mind save for one deep regret, the death of his second-in-command, Ketil Chainforger. Not only did he lose a good friend, but he made bitter enemies of the Chainforger clan, including Torhild Chainforger, the woman he was betrothed to. Cecile Politan. Cecile was raised by her father Gareth and mother, also called Cecile, on a farmstead close to Port Sovereign. During visits to the city, Cecile Jr. was fascinated by the people walking and talking, the shops, the inns, the birds and the churches. Once, Cecile earned herself trouble by venturing into the crypts of the church looking for treasure. This event was typical of Cecile, who proved to be something of a troublemaker, albeit a well-meaning one. It was an almost weekly occurrence for her father to have to reclaim Cecile from an irate town guard for stealing a round of cheese here or a loaf of bread there. Rather than berate her harshly, Gareth instead recognised this pilfering as an inevitable part of Cecile's character and chose to redirect it, rather than attempt in vain to quash it. Gareth told Cecile to steal only for those who could afford to be stolen from, and to share those ill-gotten gains with those who needed it, the poor, the suffering, and so on. This unlikely lesson proved to be well judged, and it stuck with Cecile from then onwards. Her mother taught Cecile how to use a sword and her father a bow, giving her martial skills that would help Cecile remedy the injustices she would face on her travels. Recently, Cecile has been plagued with dreams and visions, the underlying themes of which have been the return of someone or something. Both Hrathen and Cecile were giving weapons training to the citizens of Southwood Head before the hobgoblins came, but the majority of the townsfolk surrendered without so much as drawing a weapon when confronted by the Taichu's armada and the ironclad legion that crashed from it in perfect formation onto the stony Trove Island beaches. Unable to restrain his rage at the hobgoblins, Hrathen picks a fight with a column of their soldiers. Given the overwhelming odds, the defeat of the pair is inevitable. However, rather than being killed, the two newcomers are arrested and taken into, ironically, the very thieves' guild where the party are waiting to make their move. The heroes assume that these enemies of their enemies are friends of sorts, and hope to somehow join forces with Hrathen and Cecile before they are subjected to the tender mercies of the Iron Shadows. When the time is right, the quartet, composed of Ambrose, Old Jenny, Elora and Kandira, assist the springing of Hrathen and Cecile from imprisonment. The newly bolstered party swiftly dispatches any hobgoblins between them and their escape by boat, along with the body of Brynhild Skuldmire and their former comrade, Sheriff Wright. Despite the death of the sheriff, the party has enough technical prowess itself to install the Thaumatic Actuator into the giant construct waiting for them back at Quarry Hill. With funds released from the Gladstone Bank to hire mercenaries and the renovated fighting machine, maybe the little town will stand a chance against the hobgoblin invasion, after all. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to follow the unfolding adventure. Thanks also to the great Calathi Foray players past and present for their characters' backstories and for their role in creating the game world.